Good morning everyone, another day. I've actually changed it up. You guys would have known like last year when I was recording and whatnot, I'd always say, I've done my inside job, so I'm gonna go outside and reward myself. Well, that's flipped and changed now because I've learned the wind's not out in the morning. I get to go outside in my garden first, and especially on a day like today. We're gonna have a scorcher, and what I'm hoping to do is get one garden bed. I'm gonna call it Leisha's DIY retic, because realistically all I'm doing is like laying down the retic piping, and then I put on a plug end, which I'll show you it all, so that I can hook a hose to it, because we haven't trenched in, and like we don't have a massive irrigation system and all of that, and I'm just not I'll be honest, this is not our house, so I'm not really willing to outlay that sort of money when all I need to do is lay it all on the beds and then plug a hose on. And so then that saves me half an hour, whatever it is, watering that garden bed, so I can plug on 2 garden beds at a time. We're gonna set it up that I'll have 3 tap points, so I'll be able to plug in 3 garden beds at a time, and while they're being watered, I can do my other jobs, and then set myself a timer after an hour, and I can go back, change them to the next 3, and then do another few jobs. So I'm very shiny because I've got my sunscreen on. That's why we're going out early, because it's gonna be like 38 here today. So Fahrenheit, that's like 100 and something. It's over 100, I know that, I worked it out. And the garden bed that I'm picking to do, I know is not in the sun, and it's gonna be shaded till about 10, and that should be more than enough time, and by then Mace will be ready to come back in. She needs her chill time, have a little cuddle on the couch, then I'll get into my inside jobs in the aircon and enjoy. So let's go. I'm gonna show you a couple of different options and a couple of different things of what I've done in the garden beds here and explain why. It is already out and in full force, so I'm hoping that this is going to be okay. I don't have my microphone yet, and if it looks or sounds horrendous, then I will maybe just do a voiceover. So first things first, you're going to need some stuff to cut the pulley, and I'll flip you around and show you what exactly tools I'm actually using for today for what I'm doing. So I need some clamps. I'm using 13 mil, so you need to make sure you get the right one for what size pipe. 13 sort of average. You can quite often get 19 mil that's like goes to the connecting. I'm gonna need some elbows, lots and lots of T-pieces. But this is what I'm talking about in the sense of like, just try and turn you to help block the wind. My cheat thing. So what I'm gonna do is I actually connect this, which I also have to get an inline filter, because if you're on hard water, your pipes or sprinklers are gonna block up so fast. And when I'm talking about hard water, it means dam water. If you're in town or residential, don't need to worry. So what will happen is this will go, then there'll be an inline filter, then it will go to the drip. Now the different type of things that you can use and what I'm using, spin you back around. So I'm using out here drip. Why am I using drip? It's because we live in a place that's super windy. So if I'm trying to use sprayers, when the wind is out, they just go everywhere. And that was the issue I was having, is I was trying to water it with a sprinkler, and every time I'd put it on, the wind would just come and blow. So I've since hooked up my veggie patches with drippers. They're going amazing. So we're gonna do this one with drippers as well. The thing with drippers you will need to know is that you're probably gonna have to put it a lot closer together if you're doing than sprayers. If you're in town though, like I said, then you can kind of go whatever. It depends on what you're wanting to do. If it is veggies or it's plants that don't really like water being sprayed on their leaves, then do drippers, because ultimately not many plants are going to really want water on their leaves. They want it in the ground so their roots can get it. So it's kind of like a thing, like lots of people are like, oh, I hate drippers, they don't really work. Other people are like, nah, don't like sprayers, I love drippers. I think it all depends, and you've got to know 1, the plant, 2, the soil, 3, what is your goal, what's the conditions. all of that sort of thing. So for me, I have worked out drippers work best out there. One, for the spray, but two, I've also learned, because my hubby came and was like, holy hell, how many rows do you have of drip in this? But you need to remember, when drippers are going, they're going so slow that the patch that they're actually watering is not that big. So if you're expecting to lay it like you would a spray one, where the spray range is huge, you're not going to get the desired one. You're going to get plants that are going to struggle because they're not getting enough water. So the other way though that I am talking about is, yes, when you can do sprayers, what you will do is you will have your black pipe and pop in heaps of sprayers. Now I have tried this here because I thought, I got given a whole roll of it and I thought, well, I'm going to use it, it's silly not to. But we run off of dam water, so that is gravity fed until the sun is up high enough and hits the solar pump, means I do not have enough pressure. So that's the other thing to think of. If you are rural and doing your own water from a dam, you either need to then install a pump at your house if you want that style of pressure all day long, or you go for dripper because they don't need pressure. The other thing though you need to be really careful about is if you have too much pressure, you're going to burst those sprayers out. You also need to be mindful of how big an area you're doing, which I was not. And I did a garden bed, I'll flip you around. So I did this, it goes all the way from there, all the way down. Oh, hang on. Okay, I'll show you in a minute. Okay, you want to show now? So hi everyone. I had an accident last night and had my first blood nose. Oh, boinga, let's go. Anyway, yes, so I've run and sprayed so I could do it a lot further apart. However, that is far too much space for how much pressure we have. And I'm also learning, so I interconnected them all thinking that would be the best way. Some people have said no, you need to block them off, so we've done that as well. We've also popped taps in so that we're then using half and half. And our hardest part is knowing when to put them on. So like at the end of the day, when the sun has been at its peak and the pump is working the strongest, yes, I can put it on. However, my first lot of sprays go gangbusters, and by the time it gets to the end, they're kind of like dribbling out. So this one is a work in progress. We are thinking maybe we're gonna scrap it. I'll use that pipe in smaller garden beds. Yeah! Oh no, I'll get it for you. That I know will have enough pressure, and we'll put drip ball in this as well, because you'll see the difference. The plants in here are very small. Oh, the wind, guys, I'm so sorry. Like the plants in here have struggled, and it's because, like, realistically in our summer they need to be watered every day. Okay, let's actually get on to the business. Alrighty, this is the garden bed we're going to be working on. As you can see, it's got a few plants in it already, and this is the drip pipe. Now I have opted to go for pipe because I actually couldn't find any tape, but that's okay, this is going to do the job. So as you can see, there is an emitter hole there. You can get it where they are spaced out in all different lengths, I guess, size, one on either side. I'm going to run it down the end, and this is where my plug-in is going to be, and then it will run across ways. I'm not sure exactly how many. I'm just going to have to lay it out and see how we get on. First things first though, I'm going to start with the connector part. So this is where I'm just using straight 13mm black poly pipe, popping my little connector in. Make sure that you remember to put that clip on first, because otherwise then you've got to try and pull this thing back out, and because it's barbed, it's designed not to come back out. It makes it really, really hard. So pop him on. I'll use my pliers. You can get special ones. I just use normal ones, but first of all, click it with my fingers, mittingly. Hang on, stop. And then here we have it. So I've added my filter. Got to make sure that the flow arrow is going the right way. But what I'll do is plug a hose onto the end and go through that bit through the filter. You do need to remember to take these off and clean them out every now and then it goes into the drip pipe. So I'm going to slot him in there. Alrighty, so border is done. I like to always start with the border, and that way I know that everything is done. This time I have learnt to space it in a bit more, right then against the edge, because I don't need to water out over the edge, and then I'll run my lines down. Also, massive tip is to get these landscape pegs because it's been coiled up. It is so curly, and this way it will hold it in place for when I'm trying to make sure, because I didn't do this in some areas, and admittingly it was so curly that when I finally got it laid down straight, they were way too long, and I've had to go back and recut and remeasure. But that's all a part of the learning process. All right, now onto the fun part. So I'm trying to work out, as you can see, I have done my first row. So one, making sure it's spaced in between the drippers, so then I'm not having a dripper right next to a corner, because likelihood is your corners are probably going to not necessarily leak, but maybe a tiny bit. Oh, my little helper grabbing the camera for me. Love that. And we're going to move. Look, guys, honestly, life of filming with a toddler. Enjoy the sky. Okay, and we're back. I've moved angles so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So in the beginning, when I spoke about these T-pieces, this is where I've used it. So I'm going to cut the drip tape once I figured out where along I actually want them. Add my little clamps on, pop the T-piece in, clamp it down, and then this is where I'm adding, I guess I call it my runner, but it's where it's going to connect from one end to the other. Pin it down, because this is where I was talking about before. If I don't pin it, and then when I go to do it to the other end, it pulls, and I've either made it too short or I overcompensate and make it too long, so then it doesn't sit nice and flat on the ground. So just make sure you're mindful of that when you're doing it. Okay, I'm going to stay quiet for a little bit so that you can just watch and see what I'm doing, but honestly, listen to this little cherub. Sorry for the wind, that's why I've done a voiceover for most of it, but how stinking cute.
Look here. Look at home. Look at home. Look at home. Look, guys. Puppy. Look at puppy. Yeah.
You did a fart?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
They got fat.
Did they? Okay, let's get up close so you guys can actually see this properly. So you'll see here I'm making sure I'm not too close to the actual dripper part, and I've pulled my T part down so I can see where exactly I would want it. I normally make like a little mark with my nail just so then I can go back and see it. Oh, and my camera helper. Let's get control of it back. These are actually popular retic cutters, which is very good. The other thing you want to be mindful of is to make sure you've cut it quite straight, because if you do it on too much of an angle, then you're going to find it's not going to sit nice and flat against your piece. We've slid on our little clamp first. Now we're going to push in the T-piece. You've got to go quite hard because it is barbed. I must admit, newer polypipe is much easier to get on than older. So like the black stuff that was gifted to me is old. It's gone hard because it's obviously been maybe sitting in the sun for a little bit, versus this being new is a lot softer. If it has been sitting in the sun for a little bit during the day, can make it easier because it's warmed it up, and then that way it makes it a little bit easier to expand and go on. So push him down. The other thing to take note is when you're putting your clamps on, pay attention to which way you're doing them. So particularly when you're putting on a T-piece, see if I had this going the other way on both of these, then I wouldn't have area to be able to put the third one on the long section of the T, like where it actually goes down, like the tail end. So make sure you're also mindful of that when you're putting your joiners in. Otherwise, again, you're going to have to try and pop open your little clamp. Not that it's a big deal, but as you can see, this takes enough time as it is without then having to go back and correct mistakes. So third pipe that I'm going to pop on, pull him down again. Don't forget those clamps. Look, can I tell you how many times I did? And I'd be like, no. So this is what I mean. So see, now I turn it to a side. Had I have put those if I'd put one, then it wouldn't matter, but if I'd put both down, then I wouldn't have anywhere to be able to clamp this to. So there we go. That's how I did it. And here we are, the entire bed is done. Now these might be spaced out a lot further than what some people would need, but I actually feel like this is more than enough for the plants that are in here and the plants that I'm going to have. But there you go, guys, there's a DIY version, and then later on I can actually plumb this in should I want. Trying to get her to say bye.